is Billy Cox with the Band of Gypsies and the Jimi Hendrix Experience. You're listening to 21st Century Radio with Dr. Bob Hieronymus.
We were down around the back, and you couldn't see a lot was going out in the front. So the lift carried you up to the main stage. Jimmy said, "Oh, look at all those people." And then Mitch says, "Hell, I'm not going out there." So Mitch had a bottle of Blue Nun wine, and when he got through between me, Jimmy, and Mitch, the wine went down to there, so we went out.
Well, we continue now with part 2 of our 21st Century Radio salute to Woodstock's 50th anniversary. By the way, Jimi Hendrix will be joining us up at Woodstock this coming year, mainly because she wants to see the bus and get in the bus. And next up is one of my oldest and dearest friends, Bob Grimm, whom I've known for at least 50 years, maybe a couple of lifetimes as well. Just like Trudy Morgul, who joined us in part 1, I first met Bob Grimm back at the old bar called Judges. By the way, you're listening to Jimi Hendrix himself tuning up. And that bar was called Judges in Baltimore, where he was performing with his band, and I got to know everyone in the band, and we eventually began exploring meditation and the ageless wisdom teachings together. They were all interested in the Esoteric Study Center, or the AUM school that I founded, and they wanted to learn the light meditations we practiced at our Savitria commune. I taught them how to do these meditations before they went on stage for all their gigs, and they found it helped them get into sync with each other and the music. Their harmonies just soared. The band appreciated these meditations so much that they changed the name of their band to Light in honor of these light meditations. The VW Light Bus started out as Bob Grimm's bus. He commissioned me to turn it into a magic bus and cover it with esoteric symbols from the ancient wisdom traditions. Welcome back to 21st Century Radio, Bob.
Hello.
How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing very well.
Are you twisting the night away over there?
Well, certainly.
Yeah, of course. Let's start with a series of questions on your background. Were you singing and playing guitar and writing music all your life?
Most of my life.
Are you self-taught in these arts, or did you take lessons?
All of the above. I began my musical career as a grade school child at Shenendehowa Central School near Clifton Park, New York, where I learned to read music by playing the alto saxophone in the elementary school band. And that led me to ultimately having a broader interest in music, and I ended up by getting a gift from my mother when I was in Phoenix, Arizona, of a ukulele, which I took much more seriously than my brother. He got one as well. Mm-hmm. I ended up with his. His was a better one. And
was he an older brother or a younger?
No, he's a younger brother.
Oh, okay.
George is an artist who lives in Rutland, Vermont. Anyway, I ultimately traded in the ukulele for a guitar my mother gave me, which was her childhood guitar.
Oh, why?
It was an old FO guitar, and I began taking it very seriously, ultimately finding myself in Bennington, Vermont, and copying Beatles 45 records and learning basically Beatles songs, which is a great way to put together a learning process.
When did you begin performing?
Pretty much as a senior in high school in Bennington, Vermont, I put a little band together called Light. Anyone interested in Bob Grimm's 15 Minutes of Fame can go to www.bobgrimm.net, and you will find all my stuff.
All your stuff?
a great deal of it, my friend.
Well, you got a lot of stuff, I'll tell you. Okay. So. Now, do you remember when we met for the first time, Bob?
I certainly do.
What do you remember?
At Judges, we of course were mounted on a bandstand that was behind the bar, mm-hmm. and we looked forward out onto, I forget what road. What road is that on, Bob?
Greenmount Avenue.
Yeah, we looked. We were faced out towards Greenmount Avenue. Mm-hmm. You were sitting to the right at the bar, and I noticed you tapping your fingers and seeming to get into the music. Ultimately, you and I began conversing and discovered that we had some things in common. And I was fascinated by your approach, and we became friends at that time.
Oh, very good friends, best friends.
Indeed.
About the light meditations, what did you think about them at that time?
Well, at the time, as you know, you and I had many hour-long conversations, and the fact that you led me to an interest in symbols and communication on a different level, I started redefining things that I had questions about, and you helped me get to a point where I realized that meditation was a way to uncover different realities and different levels of consciousness within my being and without. Mm-hmm. And that redefined my role somewhat.
Did it help you on the stage?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, do you remember asking me to paint you a magic bus?
I certainly do.
What did you have in mind, by the way, when you asked that? Did you see any of my other painted cars? Is that how that came up, or what?
Well, in part, yes, but then I was more interested in the symbolic works that you were doing at the time. If you remember, there was a thing called the permanent state you were working on at the time.
Oh my God, yes.
And also, this was the onset of your Johns Hopkins mural.
Yeah, the Apocalypse mural.
And
you worked on that a bit.
I did, somewhat. Yes, I did. And I wanted to be a part of the movement that you were representing to me. And I think the magic, of course, you and I probably have a different definition of that word than most people do. I refer to people like Israel Regarde, Eliphas Levi, people like that. We define magic as more of a study of vibration that has a universal sense, and it has nothing to do with the sleight of the hand stuff that you see at the sideshow.
Oh yeah, well but they've learned about vibrations now, John. Really juggles me, Bob. I mean, it's really changed now. Science is catching up to esoteric traditions, and that's really
I
good.
believe so.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged by some of the things I see on the History Channel and the Discovery Channel. It seems that people... Well, I remember you tuned me into Eric von Däniken in those days.
Oh, yes, Eric.
And he's having quite a career these days.
He sure has. I'm telling you.
At the time, he was talking about things nobody was paying any attention to, or it didn't seem to be anyway. Mm-hmm. And you were kind of the vanguard of that movement, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I did. I was a bit question. I did question his authenticity in certain areas, and when we had him finally on our show a couple of times, he made some really great points that I should have known then. I was too critical. Look, I'm a Virgo. What the hell? That's the way it goes. I mean, that's going to happen anytime.
Well, I was critical, too, because he seemed to be obsessed with aliens, and at the time I was as interested in non-physical beings as I was physical beings from other parts of the universe.
Yeah. Well, as you know, we're surrounded by all kinds of non-physical beings.
Absolutely.
Which are invisible to most folks, but when they develop their intuition and they start serving and helping other people, their eyes open in another way. And you'll see that it's filled. In my studio right now, we have all kinds of beings here. Now, tell us your Woodstock story. Were you excited to go, and did you know it was going to be as big as it was?
Well, I don't think anybody knew it was going to be as big as it ultimately has become. We didn't realize that it was an absolutely critical part of our social evolution in this country, maybe in the world.
Yeah.
Because it represented a kind of unity of our 60s generation. And although we were perhaps anticipating more than ultimately came about, we initiated many great things. The women's movement, the peace movement, the movement for a common language, I think, which is basically peace and unity. I think we were all looking for a way to add to the common good.
Yep.
We were looking to embrace peace and forgiveness, and during the Vietnam War, which put us in somewhat of an opposition to our parents' generation.
Indeed. Well, we were right. We were dead right.
Yeah, I think so.
That was an unnecessary war.
Yep.
And a lot of apologizing should have taken place after that. Oh, gosh, we're only got about 3 minutes. You've told the story before on our show, but it's worth repeating. How did you get the bus inside the festival grounds?
Well, we drove to the festival grounds. We entered this one dirt road. We were stopped by a state policeman, New York State policeman, and he said, "You can't bring any more vehicles into here." And I said, and I told him, I said, "Listen, we're bringing this to the art show." And that seemed to work for him, and he let us go. There had been proposed an art show that never took place at the Woodstock Rock Festival.
Yeah.
But
Well, that was brilliant, Bob. That
yeah.
you wouldn't
well,
have
it
any
got
story.
Us there, got us in Life magazine and
That's right.
Rolling Stone, and the most important thing is that we affected, I believe, with the symbols on the bus, we affected a great consciousness, which added to the peacefulness of the Woodstock Festival.
Well, when did you leave the festival? Did you hear Jimi Hendrix play on Monday morning?
You know, we were driving out of the festival as Jimi Hendrix was playing, and I turned to Trudy and Rick and the young lady I was with, Lynn, at the time, and said, "Oh, I can listen to him anytime. I can hear him anytime." And of course, as you know, he died the next year.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad. So I heard a little bit as we were driving away, but we'd sort of had enough of the mud and the rain, and we were ready to go.
Well, by the way, again, Janie Hendricks is going to be joining us. I know she wants to meet you, and so maybe you'll be one of the people driving the bus around. That would be great.
Sure.
Well, next month you are joining our caravan of artists and musicians and vintage Volkswagen enthusiasts. That is, with the recreated light bus as we return to Woodstock in August, and we're going to the 50th anniversary weekend at Bethel Woods Art Center. What are you looking forward to at this anniversary event?
I think bringing the bus back has a great symbolic reference to my completion on this planet. That's part of how I'm going to conclude Bob Grimm as a professional musician. I'm pleased that it'll be back where it was 50 years ago, or at least an image of it will be. And we need as much energy from the magic that it actually does convey in this day and age, even more than we did back in '69.
Yeah, you're right. Our country is totally split. The world is totally split, etc. Oh, darn. We just don't have time right now to talk about Akasha. We're going to have to invite you back in the next couple of months for us just to spend that time on Akasha. And your time with the Four Seasons. And it's a good thing that we interviewed about that before, but I sure would like to have shared that again tonight. So thank you for joining us, Brother Bob.
Yep, I'm looking forward to the launch, and I sent you some copies of a Beatles song that you may want to sing, or if you have another song you want to sing, email me what it is and what key it's in, and I'll make sure to have the music. Good
going, because I look forward to doing that. You are one of the few people that I tried to sing with. There's a lot I had to learn, but you helped me a great deal, Bob. You are one of the most important people in my life. And
that means a great deal to me, my friend.
Well, it's true. I'm not exaggerating one bit. Well, coming up next is meditation teacher Susan Beverly to tell us all about the light meditation and how it can help save the planet. You're listening to 21stCenturyRadio.com.